everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different. Today I'm going to be talking about the MCAT, a little bit about my MCAT experience, and a lot about tips that I wish I had received when I was taking the MCAT. I did get a pretty good score on the MCAT. While I won't reveal my exact score, I will say that it was above a 510, so I consider anything, to be honest, above a 510 to be a pretty good score, and I think that it is achievable. I'm just an average student, so if I can get it, I think anyone can too. So hopefully these tips will help you, so let's get started. My first tip would be to start preparation early. The MCAT is already a pretty stressful exam, and you don't want to be in additional stress, starting preparing late. And what I mean by that is that we all are taking the MCAT to apply to medical schools. So you don't want to be in a situation where you are taking the MCAT right before applying to medical school. And I know a lot of people do that, but I feel like that just adds more stress on you, because then you feel obligated that I have to get this score, or it's toast. And you should really approach the exam not with stress but with confidence. And I know it is a scary experience. I did have a lot of anxiety about this test too, I'm not gonna lie, and it is a pretty hard test. But I think having that stress taken off, that I have to get it done within a certain limited time, is taken off if you start early. So I would start preparing early, and what I mean by that is, first of all, start getting to know what the exam is about. The AAMC has a really good book. It's called The Official Guide, I believe, to the MCAT, and I know that I think every few years they have an updated version, so I would buy that version and look through it so you know what the exam format is like. There's 4 different sections, and so you'll get to know more about that if you read that book. Online there's a lot of good resources too, but I would give you a warning. Reddit can be a friend, but it can also be an enemy sometimes. I know that I spent a lot of time on Reddit just looking at other people's comments and scores, and trying to see what they exactly did so I could get that score, and I feel like I wasted a lot of time. So that's something that I would recommend, that use that as a resource, but limited resource. But the main reason why I would say to start early is so that you can take the exam early, and that way if you need to take it again, you can take it again. And if you don't need to take it again, then you're done early. That stress is taken off. And again, as I talked about earlier, if you're in less stress, you're probably more likely to perform better, because if you're in that mindset that I'm gonna try my best, I studied, now I'm just gonna take the exam and hope for the best, instead of having an attitude where you're oh no, this is the end all be all, I have to get this certain score, I'm not going to be able to apply to schools. It just can get stressful. It's also pretty expensive to take the exam too, so that's why I would recommend making sure you're fully prepared before taking the exam. And the next thing that I would advise you is thorough content review. I know a lot of people sometimes might lack in content review. Sometimes people do too much content review, so I think it's really about finding a balance. And once you have a good sense of content, that really does give you a lot of confidence, because you know that now I know the material, I just have to be able to apply it. So that's definitely what I would recommend be the first step in your preparation, would be the content review / getting to know what the exam format is like. And I would spend a good, even a couple months on content review. It really depends on how long you have to take the exam. Let's say you only have 2 months to prepare for it. Then, definitely the first few weeks, I would say should be dedicated to content review. So the timing is definitely going to depend on, how much time you have before you have to take your exam. And so how I did my content review was I used the Kaplan books. So after school ended in the summer, I think I spent about 3 to 4 weeks just reading through all the 7 Kaplan books, and highlighting. I started taking notes, but I realized that like it was just kind of becoming a waste of time. What I did write down were formulas. Like for physics, I made flashcards. So definitely like things like that, like formulas or maybe like short things I would take notes of, but definitely like don't try to like transcribe like everything that's in the book into notes format, because I think that just takes a lot of time. So I would recommend just like reading the book and highlighting as you go. And then let's say if you want to review all that again, you just have to go over the highlighted stuff, and it'll take you less time for that too. And I also recommend using Khan Academy because it is free. It's a really good resource, which I feel like I should have used more in my prep. But definitely for those who are starting, sorry for the random voice cracks. I would definitely recommend to use Khan Academy. Just because like, especially for psych and soc, they have really, really good videos. And I know that online you can find like this psych soc packet for Khan Academy. If you guys want the link or the document, I can add it in the comments section. Just let me know. But what I would do, like if you want just a simple study plan, is like I would read the Kaplan books, highlight, maybe take a couple notes on things that I really don't know, and on those topics that you feel like the worst about. Like for me, hands down, physics was like not my strong point. Then I would go to Khan Academy and kind of supplement that. And Khan Academy has like videos for everything, so I'm sure you can find any topic. They have an MCAT playlist, and you don't have to go through the whole playlist. If you have time, that's wonderful. I feel like that would be great. But if you're short on time and you want to use your time wisely, then I would just supplement those topics that you feel weak on with Khan Academy videos. And let me get some water. And I would I forgot what I was saying. Oh, and you can even watch those videos on like 2 times speed. So I think that's a pretty good resource. Okay, the next thing I would say is practice, practice, practice. And this is a tip that I heard from a lot of upperclassmen too, which I think really helped me, is that like, yes, it's really important to get the content down, but you cannot ace the exam if you do not practice enough. And the AAMC material is so gold. Like I feel like it was the most similar to how the exam was, and it's a really good gauge of like how you're gonna do on the exam, because like I do believe the scores that you get there, like if you average them, like that's kind of probably where around you're gonna score usually. And again, I would space out how you use these materials. I know there's a couple of practice tests out there. I feel like there's a diagnostic test, and they have these really like nice like question banks that I'd highly recommend. And it is a little pricey, but I think it's totally worth it. Like the AMC material should be like the first material that you like use, hands down. And then if you have like extra money to spend, then I would go to other resources. But if you do have limited finances, then the AMC material is the number one that you want to go to. And what I mean by spacing out how you use them is that like don't take all these practice tests like the first week or something. Like you want to keep some of those practice tests towards the end, so like you can really gauge where you're at in terms of like how you're scoring. So like if you're scoring lower, then maybe you might want to extend your test date. If you're scoring around where you want to be, then that's a sign that's like good, you're doing a good job, keep on going. So definitely kind of space out those tests throughout. And I would, even recommend like doing a couple questions. Like you can find these like discrete questions, I'm pretty sure online on any website. UWorld Q banks are really good. They even have like free trials you can use for like a week. So those are pretty good for just like discrete questions. I think they have some passage-based questions too. Next Step has some really good questions too for more practice. But besides like these 3, I don't really feel like I used any other practice questions. The Kaplan tests, I guess you could use for content review. I wouldn't recommend it just because I thought they were harder than the actual exam, and I feel like I would score a lot lower on them, and that just kind of took away from my confidence. So I would just recommend sticking to these resources that like will get you there and will make you feel good about your progress too. And I think this is the last tip, but it is the most important tip, and it is take care of yourself. This is just an exam. It does not define who you are. It will be okay. Just have some faith. And rewind this as much as you want. Say this phrase to yourself over and over, because this is the reality. This is just an exam. Yes, I know it's an important exam to get into medical school, but you do realize that this exam does not define you as an applicant. And there's so much more to an application. You can take this exam more than once. There are certain limits to that, but it's gonna be okay. Don't worry. I know I stressed a lot about this exam more than I should have, and it definitely took a toll on my health. So just eat healthy, exercise. And this exam is also about endurance. Like, can you sit through like a 7-hour exam? So you really, really do have to take care of yourself throughout this time. And so these are all my general tips. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. I feel like it turned out to be longer than I wanted, but I was kind of glad to have a heart-to-heart talk to you. And please excuse me, this is like one of the first type of videos like this that I've done, so I might be talking a little fast. But I hope you were able to get some good information, and if this video was helpful, please do like and subscribe to my channel so that I know that I could bring out more content like this and have more detailed and in-depth kind of advice and tips for you guys for MCAT preparation, applying to medical school and things like that. Thank you.